SPAC Republicans are divided about the Iran war, not a leak, not a rumor. A Fox News poll showing 64% of Trump's base now questions the strategy, and the split is real. My name is Professor Jiang. I study geopolitics and predictive political analysis, and what I am about to show you is not speculation. It is the analytical breakdown of a political shift that changes the trajectory of this entire conflict, because when a president's own base begins to fracture over a war, the political constraints on that war change in ways that military assessments cannot predict. Stay with me, because the number I give you at the 8-minute mark of this video is the most important data point about American political cohesion that has entered the public domain since this war began. Do not leave before you hear it. What the Fox News poll actually found and why the SPAC division is more significant than any missile strike or oil price spike in the last 22 days. Here is what we know. Fox News published a poll today showing that 64% of Republicans who identify as Trump supporters now believe the Iran war has not been worth the cost. That is not a marginal shift. That is a fundamental fracture in the coalition that elected the president. The poll also found that 58% of these voters believe the administration has not been transparent about the war's objectives, and 52% believe the United States should begin negotiating an end to the conflict within the next 30 days. These numbers are not from a Democratic-leaning pollster. They are from Fox News, the network that has been the most consistent supporter of the president's foreign policy. When Fox News reports that the president's base is fracturing, it is not opposition research. It is internal intelligence. Now here is the number I promised you. The one that changes everything. The SPAC division is not just about opinion. It is about action. 3 distinct factions have emerged within the Trump-aligned Republican coalition. The first faction, approximately 35% of Trump supporters, believes the war should be escalated to achieve regime change in Iran. The second faction, approximately 29% of Trump supporters, believes the war has achieved its objectives and should be ended through negotiation. The third faction, approximately 36% of Trump supporters, is undecided but leaning toward de-escalation. That is not a unified base. That is a coalition in tension, and that tension has consequences for how this war ends. Let me now show you why this matters analytically beyond the immediate polling story, because this is where the Professor Jiang analysis adds something that straight news reporting does not. Political coalitions are not permanent. They are conditional. They depend on shared objectives, mutual trust, and credible leadership. When any one of those 3 pillars weakens, the coalition begins to fracture, not necessarily in a dramatic public way, but in the quiet, cumulative decisions that voters make about resource allocation, political support, and electoral participation. The Trump coalition has been the dominant force in American politics since 2016. That dominance was not based on policy agreement alone. It was based on strategic clarity, on the ability to articulate a vision, to define objectives, to communicate a path forward that supporters could support even when they did not agree with every tactical decision. What the Fox News poll and the SPAC division signal is that strategic clarity is no longer present. And when strategic clarity disappears, supporters begin to hedge. They protect their own interests. They prepare for multiple outcomes. They reduce their exposure to risks that they did not choose. This is not disloyalty. This is rational political behavior. And it has consequences for how this war ends. Now I want to show you the historical pattern because this has happened before, and the outcome was not good for the lead nation. In 2006, during the Iraq War, a similar fracture emerged within the Republican coalition. A Fox News poll showed that 58% of Republican voters believed the war was not worth the cost. The political consequences were immediate. Congressional Republicans began to distance themselves from the administration's strategy. Primary challenges emerged against incumbents who remained loyal, and the 2006 midterm elections resulted in a Democratic takeover of both chambers of Congress. The pattern is clear. When a president's base fractures over a war, the political constraints on that war change. The administration loses the political capital to sustain the conflict, and the war ends not because of military defeat, but because of political exhaustion. Now I want to show you what the 3 SPAC factions are actually doing, because this is the layer that no news channel is providing. The escalation faction, the 35% who believe the war should be escalated to achieve regime change, is organizing around a specific policy agenda. They are pushing for increased military funding, expanded authorization for covert operations, and a public commitment to regime change as the war's objective. This faction is led by prominent conservative media figures and former national security officials who believe that half measures will only prolong the conflict. The negotiation faction, the 29% who believe the war has achieved its objectives and should be ended through negotiation, is organizing around a different policy agenda. They are pushing for diplomatic engagement, humanitarian corridors, and a public commitment to a negotiated settlement that preserves American credibility while ending the conflict. This faction is led by pragmatic conservatives and business leaders who believe that sustained conflict undermines economic stability. The undecided faction, the 36% who are leaning toward de-escalation but have not committed, is the swing group. They are watching for signals from the administration about the war's trajectory. If the administration demonstrates a clear path to victory, they may shift toward the escalation faction. If the administration demonstrates a clear path to negotiation, they may shift toward the negotiation faction. If the administration remains ambiguous, they may shift toward opposition. Each of these factions is rational from the perspective of its members, but collectively they signal a political recalibration that was not present at the beginning of this conflict, and that recalibration has consequences for how the conflict ends. Let me now give you the 3 specific signals to watch in the next 72 hours. That will tell you whether the SPAC division is accelerating or stabilizing. The first signal is any statement from prominent SPAC speakers or conservative media figures that explicitly endorses one of the 3 factions. If a major figure endorses escalation, it means the escalation faction is gaining momentum. If a major figure endorses negotiation, it means the negotiation faction is gaining momentum. If major figures remain silent or ambiguous, it means the division is continuing. The second signal is any change in the public rhetoric of Republican members of Congress regarding the Iran war. If Republican legislators begin to use language that emphasizes escalation, it means the escalation faction is influencing the party. If they begin to use language that emphasizes negotiation, it means the negotiation faction is influencing the party. If they remain silent or ambiguous, it means the party is still struggling to coordinate. The third signal is any announcement of policy initiatives from the Trump administration that addresses the concerns of one of the 3 factions. If the administration announces increased military funding or expanded covert operations, it means it is responding to the escalation faction. If the administration announces diplomatic engagement or humanitarian initiatives, it means it is responding to the negotiation faction. If the administration remains silent or ambiguous, it means it is struggling to manage the division. Before I close, I want to come back to something that connects this analytical work to your personal life. I do this work every day because I believe people deserve analysis that goes deeper than the headline, that reads the letter inside the envelope rather than just describing the envelope itself. Doing that work at this level every day at age 63 requires a body and a mind that can sustain the pace. Advanced amino formula has been a genuine part of how I maintain that capacity. After 40, your body stops absorbing protein the way it did when you were younger. It converts much of it to sugar instead of using it to maintain and rebuild muscle. The result is the gradual energy decline and mental fog that most people over 40 accept. As normal aging, it is not normal aging. It is a nutritional gap. Specifically, the 8 essential amino acids your body needs but can no longer extract efficiently from the food and protein supplements you give it. Advanced amino delivers all 8 in the ratio your cells can actually use with almost zero waste. That is why it hits differently from protein shakes and other supplements I tried before. The link is in the pinned comment and in the description below. They offer a full 90-day money-back guarantee if you do not feel different. In 2 weeks, return it. Zero risk. But I am telling you from my own experience at 63, covering these stories at full intensity every day. When your body has what it actually needs, everything else becomes easier. SPAC Republicans are divided about the Iran war, Trump's own base is splitting, and the Fox News 64% poll just proved it is real. The morning shows will cover this as a political footnote below missile counts and oil prices. They will not show you the factional dynamics. They will not show you the historical pattern. They will not show you what political fracture means for how this war ends. Now you have all of it. Subscribe right now if this gave you the analytical depth that the news cycle is not providing. Drop a comment below with yes or no. Do you believe the SPAC division will force the Trump administration to change its Iran strategy within the next 30 days? I read every single comment. I will see you tomorrow.